What's going on, everybody? Welcome into the Sun Belt Syndicate. As always, brought to you part of Dog TV and College Football Dogs. Football coverage is obviously starting to pick up already. We got the new EA Sports game coming out soon. That's a lot of people excited about that. I'm sure Bryce and his teammates may even be interested in some of the video game aspect. But we are also presented down below by W Energy. It's your clean energy source. No additives, no sugar, no crazy dyes. I'm like I said, I say it every week. I'm using it to help me get off the soda kick because definitely don't feel as heavy after drinking that. It's like a pre-workout, but it's great. You just make a little bit in a shaker and you move on with your day. You get your little caffeine, get that kick going. But wanted to say that before we get into tonight's guest, who we welcome in. He is a 5'11" sophomore from Louisa, Kentucky. Am I saying that right, Bryce?
Yes, sir.
Okay. He finished his high school career with an outstanding 38-4 record, a 1.4 ERA, and 351 strikeouts, a two-time 15th Region Player of the Year, a six-time All-District honoree, as well as District of the Year and preseason All-American 2 years in a row. Not just once, everybody. That's 2 times in a row he's got that going for him. He is currently tied for the league lead in strikeouts per game, and of course is the only, this season, 4-time Sun Belt Pitcher of the Year. Please welcome to the show, Bryce Blevins.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, hey, did you have to call his parents for those stats?
No, it's called research, Seth. We gotta Google.
You got the Marshall baseball page. Is that where you were?
I got most of it from the Marshall baseball page because the accolades from high school are hard to find, consolidated anywhere else. But man, I'm reading the list and I'm like, yeah. We've got Bryce. We've got our resident Texas State fan, Artie, who's going to be on the show next week for everybody. Little secret hint. He says hello to all of us and to you as well. So yeah, thanks for joining in, Artie. As always, I literally think I'd be shocked if he missed a show. So it's awesome that he's always here having fun with us and going through this. So Bryce, I mean, you were obviously incredibly decorated as a high school player. I mean, what kind of offers were you receiving? And I guess a little thing I'll say this. I found out that your uncle played at Marshall. So was that an aspect in the recruiting as well?
Yeah, it really was. Throughout high school, I was, lucky and blessed enough to be a highly touted, recruited baseball player and to have the opportunities that I did. But when it all came down to it, I felt like Marshall was a true home for me. Like you said, my uncle played here at Marshall, and he had a decorated career as well. And it came down, it felt like home, like I said, and like a true family all in one, especially getting, at the time we didn't have Coach Bills, but our pitching coach, Taylor Sandiford, he recruited me whenever he was at Western Carolina and made the move over here. So once he made the move over here, it truly felt, all put together for me to come here.
Very nice. So was Western Carolina on the list of people who were looking at you at that point then?
Yes, sir. Yeah, they were.
Nice. Had you taken a visit to Cullowhee at all?
No, I never got to take a visit there. I actually committed to Marshall right before I was going to take a visit to Western Carolina. So, like I said, I ended up making a decision my senior year, and like I said, Marshall was the place for me.
Nice.
Bryce, I may have missed it during your 20-minute introduction a minute ago. What year are you at Marshall?
I'm a sophomore.
So just a sophomore. Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Sophomore.
Mm-hmm.
Tearing it up.
There.
Yeah, no, he definitely is. You've also gone 9 innings twice already this year, and you've gone 8 once. And I'll be honest, when I'm looking through the stats for that, I don't think I see anybody else's name as much as yours. So you're obviously going the distance in your starts. Is that something that I never pitched, so this is a true, honest question. I have no idea the answer I'm going to get. is it like an honor and like a respect thing to like just have the ball for that long? Do you want to do that, or do you want to kind of put in the work and then save yourself a little bit for the next outing? Or I mean, I don't really know the ins and outs of pitching, so let us know how you feel about that.
Sure. It last year, my freshman year, it wasn't the best year for me. I'm a big believer in, the work that you put in will always pay off in the end. And we talk about respect. Obviously, at the beginning of the year, I didn't start out as a starter this year, actually. I was I was first out of the pen usually on Saturdays for us at the beginning of the year. I think the first 2 or maybe 3 weekends, believe it or not. I think my third weekend we played Manhattan at home, and I went 7 1/3, and I kind of switched over there to being our Saturday starter from that point on. And we talk about respect, right? And gaining that respect, I feel like each time I go out there, it's my job to get us in and out of that dugout as quick as possible, because we're trying to obviously put runs on the board quickly and get ahead early. And, nobody wants to be out there playing defense for too long, or, it's usually going bad for you. But, I feel like over the course of this season, I've earned a lot of respect, from Coach Bills and Coach Sandy. Just, the way I compete, doing my job each time I go out there and doing it to the best of my ability.
Absolutely. You're definitely doing it to, as far as we know, the best of your ability, because we've seen your name pop up so many times. I know it was early on this season. I think it was the second time, obviously. The first time that doesn't necessarily resonate, but the second time seeing your name come up as pitcher of the week, I know the one who's not here now, Marv, was like, dude, this kid is a stud. Go look at what he's doing to get nominated and selected as pitcher of the week. And we're just like, you might as well just give it to him the rest of the season at one point. I think by the third one, we were all saying that. Now you've collected a fourth. So we got a great question here from Artie. So I definitely want to get to this. He says, speaking of Louisa, Kentucky, what's in the water there? You're the third great pitcher from the small town. Cliff Fenning, 45 to 52 St. Louis Browns, I think is what that is, right? Yeah. They're not the St. Louis Browns anymore. And Chandler Shepard, Kentucky and Red Sox in 2019. So I didn't know that. Are you familiar with those names? And tell us more about, growing up where you did and maybe what the history of baseball is in your area.
Yeah. I grew up in a town, like, already said, in Louisa, Kentucky. It's a small town in eastern Kentucky. I don't know if you all have ever heard of. Probably the closest thing to it is Pottville, Kentucky, if anybody on here knows that. But our town, it's usually a pretty big baseball community in town. We have a lot of kids that play baseball in our community. And like I said, growing up, that's all I was around. You mentioned it before, my uncle. He went to Cincinnati for his first 2 years of college, then ended up at Marshall for his third, and ended up getting drafted by the Minnesota Twins right after year 3. So, my grandparents, they all traveled around watching him and my dad and my other uncle playing baseball growing up. Then my family does it for me. So, like I said, truly it is a really big baseball town in our, it's really small. But growing up, Chandler Shepard, he's the guy I know really well. Actually, he was a big name in our town for a long time. He ended up, like you said, getting to go to play baseball at Kentucky, and then end up getting drafted by the Red Sox whenever I'm home in the off season. I don't think he's playing anymore, but for the past couple of years, I'll always see him at our baseball building where we work out and throw and everything.
Very nice. So you speak to him quite a bit, or just kind of know of him and have run across him a few times?
Yeah. I wouldn't say I speak to him a lot, but I'll get a text every now and then, and we'll talk a little bit. I've had a few phone calls with him over the course of the past year. But definitely whenever I'm in town, and like I said, whenever he was playing, we would usually see each other quite a bit up there.
Nice. I bet he talks a little bit more once he hears how this season has gone, as I'm sure he's obviously well aware of already. But I'm sure some of that picks up with where your name's being thrown around at. And we've also got Chuck. He's a podcaster as well for Everyday Eagles podcast. We've had him on the show earlier this year, and he wants to give you some credit because he says, dude, shut down Southern Miss. Phenomenal pitcher. So, but Remind me real quick. Was that down there in the Pete?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So you've got to tell us because we've heard all about it. None of us have personally experienced it. Obviously, Chuck does like every time. But what is it like playing in an atmosphere like Pete Taylor Park? It looks fantastic when we see it broadcast. But what does it feel like, especially as a starting pitcher who's going deep into games like that?
It's something else, it's a memory that I'll forever have, going down there and, not just because I did good, but just the atmosphere, it's not every day in a normal college baseball game. You get to pitch in front of that many people and the whole crowd, the whole game, just, yelling and all the fans are excited, the small stuff down there, they care about. And that's a great thing, that's what I love. I love pitching in big games, but pitching that kind of in front of that crowd and, they're there to support their team. They're right behind all their guys the whole way through, no matter how good or how bad it's going. So that's something I can credit them for. But, each inning I took the mound, I just took a little glance around because, like I said, you don't get to pitch in front of that type of crowd, every day of your life. And you're only limited over the next couple of years how many times, it could be your last, so getting to do that was something special. It really was.
Absolutely. So maybe
piggybacking off that, Bryce, what the 2 years you've been in college, what's one of your memorable atmospheres so far?
I'm gonna be honest, it'd have to be this year. Like I said, it'd have to be Southern Miss or at Louisiana. Both times, I was on the good side of things for all the way through, of pitching. I pitched really well at both places. So, but like I said, just the way they support their team, way they get behind every one of them. And, I know we were obviously the team coming to their place, but it was really cool to see. It was really neat and something that I'll remember forever.
Those are the two most common answers we get on here.
Yes, sir.
Special places.
So I want to talk how maybe the atmosphere has changed for you guys at home. But before I do that, we just talked about those two atmospheres being probably the top two in the Sun Belt. I mean, you could put Coastal up there. I would say, maybe even Texas State. Artie's going to want Texas State in there, at least for atmosphere wise. I know Artie's a little down on his team this year, but probably the top 3 or 4 right there pretty clearly. But my question's a little different. Who chirps you the most? Like the atmosphere is great in a lot of those, but who do you hear from the most when you're sitting there pitching or when you're walking back? I mean, who's ribbing you the strongest?
What team is that? What you're asking? Like what fan base?
Yeah, what fan base? What fans you're like? Man, those people were ruthless.
Really, I've pitched really well on the road, other than the 2 places this year. Probably App State. I mean, I got down there and I got it handed to me. Them or Georgia Southern. You go back and look at the games I've pitched this year, and they like I said, we talked about respect a second ago, and at Louisiana and Southern Miss, I feel like I gained their respect for how I did that game against their home team. Then there's the 2 other places, and it got pretty hostile quickly once the ball started going around the outfield a couple times, But
talking about App real fast. Who had your number that day?
If I felt like 1 through 9 every time I threw it was something either off the end of the bat where it was just absolutely just a fluke shot over the second baseman's head, or it was something barrel to the wall or a home run that day. So
we're a little partial to a couple of those guys on here. Those are our dudes. Those are from day one. We've Austin St. Laurent. He's been our ambassador. He was the first guest we had on here.
Oh, really?
We've had him on a couple times. Good dude. Everybody we've had on here has been great guys, man.
Yeah, they all are. They all are.
Oh yeah, that's one of the hallmarks I feel like of why this conference works the way it does. Is I feel like there's a lot of similarly minded people, and that's why it's fun. Like outside of the sport, I think we'd all get along pretty well, actually. And that's
and
the
fans too, not just players, fans.
No doubt.
So speaking of fans, Bryce, I mean, you guys open up your ballpark there in Huntington with one heck of a finish.
Yeah.
One heck of a start. Actually, what was it? First pitch was a home run,
First
right?
pitch, yes, sir. Yeah, right off the bat, it was going, and it was something else. That's the least that you could say about it. But you know, talking about our ballpark a little bit,
Yeah.
it was big for us. You know, like I said, my uncle played here, and they used to play. Actually, they played a couple games at my high school field. So they would drive. You know, it's an hour away from here, from where my hometown is. They drive an hour just to play what you would call a home game for them. We played on for the I don't know how many years for now, but till this year, we played on a YMCA field. So having this new stadium, you know, it's something to be thankful for. That, you know, actually going through for my freshman year, you know, we didn't have a true home field or a home advantage, as you could say, with a crowd behind you. And this year, you know, it's really changed things around for us at home.
Yeah, absolutely. I only wish that for your guys' first season there, you could have had some of the. I mean, in one sense, you don't want to take away playing in the atmospheres in Louisiana and at Southern Miss. I know, but at the same time, you bring those types of teams into your home venue.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty cool too. So, yeah.
Speaking of home, Bryce, in today's world, transfer portal obviously is a huge thing. And I don't know how honest you can be exactly with us. Having the year you're having, is Marshall truly home? Will you be there?
I feel like it really is. You know, we're building something here, and you know, we may not be able to. You know, you may not be able to see it yet. I believe that you can, and this year, you know, with our Coach Bills, Coach Sandifer, Coach Donnelly, Coach Everhart, you know, they're guys that I love being around every day. You know, you walk in at the ballpark and they're motivated. You know, they want to attack the day with everything they have in them, and that's something, you know, I want to be a part of. You know, I feel like we truly are just a step away right now. You know, you look at our schedule this year, and there's so many games that, you know, we play a lot of great teams this year. You know, almost everyone that we've played is a really good team, and there's a lot of games of our losses that we shouldn't have lost. You know, whether it was by 1 run, 2 runs, a small mistake, but we were in almost every game we've played this year. We had a chance to win, and you know, I look forward to the next couple of years. I really do. I believe that, you know, we're going to be bringing a championship back to Marshall over the course of these next 2 years, and hopefully end up, you know, in the NCAA tournament and make a run there after we win a championship in our conference. You know, with how tough it is, as you all know.
Absolutely. Hey, Dom, was it the Southern Miss guys we had on earlier in the year that were talking about Marshall, not sleeping on Marshall, how they had some arms and a lot of talent that was going to surprise a lot of people in the next few years?
Well, that was Chuck and his crew that we had on as a group, but
right.
That specifically, that was Chad, who is a Southern Miss fan, who was saying that. He said, "Do not."
Almost the same thing as Bryce just said. Exactly.
Yep. He definitely thinks you guys are dangerous and have some talent, and obviously. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, we do. We really do. It's you know, it's coming. Yeah, we played Old Dominion a couple weeks ago, and we were talking with some of their guys, and we were just talking, you know, about everything. You know how it is, and they were talking about, you know, our record, how they, you know, you come in, you see our record, and it's not what, you know, you'd like to see on our side of things, but they were saying, you know, how you look at our schedule, like I just said, and all those 1-run games, or, you know, you see an air. You know, you see a 1 under the air column, and that's the reason that we lost that game. You know what I mean? And it's just, we're just right there. And one different thing in that game that happens for us on our side of things, and we win. And, you know, how they come in, you know, how they know that we're a better team than what it shows, you know, on our record from that standpoint.
Yeah.
But
I think you're exactly right. I text talking about Austin St. Laurent. I was watching an app game earlier in the year, and he got robbed. I'm not kidding. All 3 at bats, he got robbed. And his response was, I was like, man, tough luck today. And he goes, that's baseball.
It is.
You know, the baseball bounces one way or another. I mean, like you said, a couple of errors here or there, that could be an extra, you know, 5 or 6 wins on the year. So
definitely.
I don't think you guys are very far away. Like, I'll reiterate what everybody else is saying, especially what you just said. A couple of errors here or there, man, it can turn the season around real fast.
You know, that's the thing to really look forward to these next 2 years. And I really do believe. I mean,
2 years. You only got one left. Don't try to be. Come on now.
Yeah.
Come on now.
Yo.
What's up, fellas? Sorry I'm late.
All good. This is Bryce, as you well know. But welcome to the show, Marv, and thanks for joining us. And just jump on in. I think Bryce, I think we interrupted you there a little bit, but go ahead and.
No, like I said, I was just saying that we really are. We're one step away from being, at the top of our conference, and I do believe that. You went down to Louisiana at Louisiana this year. You look at the scores of those games. We should have easily came out there with definitely one, if not 2 wins, and that's a series win. You know what I mean? At a highly touted, baseball team in our conference. Southern Miss, same thing. We were right there. But it's coming. It really is, and I'm excited for it. And I know everybody else in our area is too, and I can't wait.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I'm going to try and update this layout. There we go. Yes. So, Marv, we saved your famous question. If you want to go ahead and ask it, or if you want me to go into something else first before you get into that.
Now, the kid question?
Yep.
All right. So, yeah, we asked every guest this. So, we all got kids that play sports, especially baseball, just at an all-star tryout. So, every kid growing up wants to be a Division I athlete. They all think they're going to make it to the show, right? If you could go back and talk to a 8, 9, 10-year-old Bryce, what would be the best piece of advice that you would give them to at least help them accomplish the first goal of being a Division I baseball player?
I said earlier in this when we first started, the work you put in will pay off, truly. And a big thing that I think as a young kid that, they begin to struggle with as, you go from 8 to 9 to 10 to 12, it's a big jump. You go from kid pitch to pitching to each other, or from coach pitch to kid pitch, sorry. But it's believing in yourself. Belief, that's a big thing. Even in, the college level, high school level, and major leagues, you got to believe it before anything. And once you have that belief, I believe that anything's possible.
Bryce, did you always know that you were going to be a pitcher? I'm assuming you played multiple positions, in Little League and coming up.
Yeah.
What kind of positions did you play? And besides the fact that you've got a rocket attached to your right shoulder, what led to being a pitcher?
Well, so like I said earlier in the podcast, I grew up around a baseball family. My uncle got drafted by the Twins as a right-handed pitcher. My dad, my uncle, my other uncle played baseball, so I grew up all around it. I throw left-handed, but
I'm sorry.
No, you're good. But I grew up, and from the moment I could pick up a ball, I always held it in my left hand, and I have pictures from when I used to hike up my leg, at 3 or 4 years old, throwing left-handed. So I would like to say it came naturally being left-handed. You don't really hear that often, but like I said, grew up in a baseball family, and from the time I was 3 or 4 years old, I was throwing that baseball, and by the time I got to 8 or 9, I knew that pitching was going to be my thing.
Okay.
But
pitching is your thing, but I didn't compare it to the rest of the pitchers in the conference, so I can't tell you exactly where you are. Maybe you know this, but I'm seeing 10 home runs on the season for you as well.
Yes, sir.
So you're a hitter too, man.
No, you say 10 home runs. I probably got 10 hit off of me, if that's the case.
Oh, is that what it's listing?
Yeah. I'll tell you what, if I hit 10 home runs.
Dominic got her thinking he's Shohei.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, the way that they were showing it, I was like, oh, so, but the way that they had it listed, maybe that's where I got confused. So, okay.
He's new to this, Bryce. It's all right.
Hey, listen, if he's 4-time pitcher of the week and out there hitting 10 tanks, you know what? They got the Ohtani luster to him, man. Go ahead and sign him off.
That's
Marv, you missed the joke before you hopped on. Bryce was talking about the next 2 years at Marshall. He's a sophomore. I was like, come on now.
Yeah, you ain't gonna be there that long. Hold on, Bryce. Did you get drafted out of high school?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I was originally committed to Kentucky, and then I ended up decommitting from there. And like I said, going into my senior year, made the decision to come here.
How does the rule change? I know if you get drafted out of high school and you say, "Nah, I'm good," you either got to go 3 years of college or until you're 21. Does that change at all if you don't get drafted out of high school?
No, it's all the same. Like once you go to college, it's 3 years or 21.
Gotcha. Well, how old are you?
I just turned 21.
There you go.
I just turned.
Very
So is that a possibility this year?
Probably not this year. More, over the course of the next 2 years. But like I said, we'll see. We'll see.
So just out of curiosity, and I should be better educated on this. Let's say you do get drafted this year, and it's maybe in a position or a slot that you don't like. If you decline and go back to school, can you get drafted the following year, or is there another couple year commitment after that?
It would be if you go back, then you can just get you re-enter the draft the next year.
And the team that drafted you the previous year has no rights to you at that point.
No rights, yeah.
Gotcha. Very interesting.
Nice. I like that because it gives the player a little bit of option, right? Like, yeah, I just don't want to be that far from family and friends, or I just feel like I need the education, all kinds of things. But I like the fact that it doesn't tie them to the team that picked them, in case they don't.
Yeah,
it doesn't work out.
It's probably let me go back and prove myself one more year and get a better draft position.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. So and guys can do that, and hopefully that works out more often than it doesn't. But who knows? But Artie's got another good question, Bryce. Are you a fan of the DH, and do pitchers secretly dream of hitting home runs?
Yeah, I am a big fan of the DH. And to answer, about pitchers secretly dreaming of hitting home runs, yeah, I dream of being able to hit a home run every day, every game. I wish I could step in that box and put a good swing on one and watch it go over the fence. But nothing like wanting to have a little bit of pitcher's VP. But honestly, at this level, I don't think I could. I don't think I could be able to hit at this level. But that was for the good old days.
I'm about to say, I have a feeling that you hit bombs in Little League.
Yeah, I was more of a line drive guy. I'll be honest.
Hey, that's fair.
I won't lie.
Speaking of Little League, off topic, Marv, how many parents are going to be upset after tonight's tryout?
It's funny. So we talked about that. I think as a parent, you tend to overvalue your own kid. I think having a tryout like we had tonight, where we make every kid in sequential order go through the drills, you kind of let the parents see the parity in between what their kid is and what their kid isn't. Selfishly, what I'll say is, our Little League is fairly new. We just got our charter in 23. The talent level that I saw out there tonight is incredible. Like our league's going to be in a really good position going forward. But yeah, there's naturally going to be some parents that get pissed off. We've got 2 roster spots left and 5 kids that, equally deserve it. And the good news is we're going to field a B team. So the 3 kids that I don't pick will get to go to a different team. But, everybody thinks that their kid's the best. So
You taking the highest bidder for those 3?
I am taking the kid that I think is going to help us win baseball games.
There you go.
Sure you are. Sure you are. Sure you are.
No, if you know anything about me, is I don't do the daddy ball thing. I can't stand it. It's inevitable, but luckily for me, Mason's one of the best players in the league, if not the best, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm going to take the kid that's going to help all the other kids achieve their goals.
Good. Speaking of Mason, let's jump right into this.
Oh, gee.
Yeah. Boom. Look at those green check marks, baby. It's a Marshall theme. We're sticking with the green. He's got all of it straight down the pipe. Every series, not only correct, but the games were all picked correctly too. Insanity.
Yeah.
Tell him about his chirping, Marv.
Oh, well, which one? The calling a shot in the game the other night?
No. About responding to his haters online.
Oh, yeah. So, Tom, you remember that one kid said, Mason woke up and chose violence and looks like he doesn't want dessert for the rest of the week. And Mason had all 3 picks. He goes, you text that guy back and you tell him, not only am I going to have my dessert, but I'll have his dessert all next week too.
Man, I love it. That is awesome. I missed one for my kid too. JW should have an extra green check mark up there. I don't know. Must have deleted that. But yeah, he goes 2-1, and the other kid's respectable, man. I mean, I don't think any of them did poorly. So yeah, I mean, that was a fun time. I'm glad we had them on for that little special segment. Bryce, how do you think these kids did picking games when they literally watch well, Mason probably does watch the most. That's probably not in question. Probably Logan watches the second most because he's right beside Mason most of the time.
Yeah.
But for Jason, JW, I know they don't honestly get to watch a ton of baseball. So pretty good picks here, I guess, right?
Yeah. That's pretty spot on. I'd almost, that Louisiana and Georgia Southern, I would have maybe went 2-1 with Louisiana coming out on top of that. Just the way Georgia Southern can hit a ball, they can hit. But other than that, I would have definitely chose around the same picks.
Yeah, I think I would have. I was actually surprised my son took Coastal 2-1. I was going to take a chance like Jace was and say Georgia State could go down there and I mean, they can put up run. They hit the most home runs out of any team in the conference. So
I saw something. Maybe you all put it out where they have 100 home runs this year, and that's something else. That's something.
Yeah, it wasn't us. We should probably. Well, I don't want to steal that because that's what that guy does. Fun Belt Sports, I believe, is the account that does that. I think he's a Louisiana fan, if I'm not mistaken. He does a good job keeping track of that. They actually do their own picks too. But we probably don't want to step on any toes. And I kind of like, not having to put graphics together and see what other people come up with. But yeah, they are sitting up there pretty with 100 on there. I think ODU had the most last year, if I'm not mistaken. In fact, I think ODU was in the top 10 nationally for home runs. So Georgia State's probably up there as well. And before we move on to the next slide, Artie wants to know when Mason's going to join the show full time to make his picks.
He's gonna charge you money for that. That's
when he starts seeing a check.
I mean, you got to keep in mind the kid was what was his final rank for the basketball tournament? It was
within the top 500, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's unreal. When he turns 18, we're going to Vegas with a stack of cash and see what happens.
You don't even have to go to Vegas anymore. It's legal to gamble in this state.
That is very true. I'm trying to not make him a total degenerate quite yet.
Yeah, well, it's in your name. If he can just tell you, at this point, he's not playing on any team of, significance as far as, where you can get in trouble. Obviously, Bryce will stay away from that and won't get involved. Smart move, man. Is betting even legal in the state of West Virginia?
I don't know. I really don't know.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, I was going to say, perfect. That's exactly what we want to hear. We will not have any controversy coming out of this episode with having you on and talking about that. So anyway, we'll move on to the next topic of Tuesday's scores. And we're going to lead off with you and your team, Bryce, obviously. This one, you had already hosted Ohio earlier in the season and beat them. So now you completed the sweep. A lot of runs in this one. You guys were up pretty early. What seemed kind of comfortable. They obviously seemed to come back, obviously, with a 2-run game in the end. But what kind of game was this for you being there and trying to – it's a battle for the bell. Is that what it's called, right?
Yeah, it is. It is called Battle for the Bell. I know – I don't really know much about it, to be honest with you. But early in the game, like you said, we got up. We were – we had 4 home runs that game. We had a grand slam with, one out of the 4. Then the others, I think we had a 2 or 3 run shot, but we came out swinging. They also did too later in the game. Like I said, it was all about, pitching to our strengths and, trying to put a barrel on the ball and moving runners and doing a job, especially early on in the game, trying to get that lead and get comfortable and, play some defense behind our guy.
Yeah, absolutely. I interestingly enough, that game looked like it was on YouTube of all places. So I went back and I didn't have time to watch the whole thing. It's hard to, man, if you want to watch any more than one baseball game a night, it's like almost impossible with kids and other responsibilities. It feels like you could stay up till 3 a.m. and still watch half of what the conference was supposed to play. Although we obviously, as we can see here on screen, had 4 canceled. What are your thoughts on anything else you see here? I guess, is it surprising, like a team like upstate, South Carolina upstate beating a team like Georgia State with how many runs they can score? I mean, do you guys keep tabs on a lot of there's so many teams obviously in baseball, but is there stuff that kind of jumps up and surprises you guys week to week, or are you just kind of like Seth and even Austin that's been on before said it's just kind of baseball. It's not a whole lot surprises you, I guess.
Yeah, there really isn't. It is baseball. Anything can happen. It don't matter, what level of team you are. You go out any given day and you can get beat. Like I said, it doesn't matter who you are, what, Power 5, lower area team. But, with these scores, they don't really surprise me at all. I know Upstate, their head coach, if I believe, he used to coach at Morehead State. I know him a little bit. I know he's a really good coach, so I know he puts together a team every year that will go out there and compete. And, like you said, Georgia State, they can swing it like we already talked about. Then Southern Miss and Ole Miss, that don't surprise me at all with that score. Southern Miss is a great ball team. They're really well coached. They play hard. They love doing the right thing, and that's the big thing. But other than that
one, like you said, that is a fan base that literally expects greatness. I think Marshall's probably like that with football, right? Like, even if they're having a little bit of a down time, like, people still expect them to win when they go to see them or they watch them on TV. App State football the same way, but Louisiana and Southern Miss, Coastal Carolina, they all go into a baseball game and pretty much expect to win it. Their fans were super upset, or at least some of them were to the point of pretty upset because they were down 4-0 early against Ole Miss, and it just seemed like that middle section of the game, it was just not much going on. Not for either team, luckily, so it didn't get worse. But then they just exploded in that. I think it was the 7th and 8th inning. So 7 unanswered runs to take a hold of that one. Obviously, they love to beat in-state power schools. But, to me, it's not ultimately shocking. Like you said, this is a team and a program that expects it and tries to do that all the time. So anybody?
I got a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We talk about Coastal week to week here, and we've talked about the Clemson game. We talk about RPI. And I know we've been texting a little bit off air. Do you think this is the nail in the coffin for Coastal, the Clemson game getting canceled minus winning the conference tournament based on helping for RPI?
So, Marv, you want to go first on that?
Where are they ranked right now in the conference? Like, they're 8th?
Right. Below middle, right?
Well, no, they've moved up after this past weekend. So here's the most up-to-date standings as they sit right now. So they are in 7th place. But if you see, there is a 3-way tie for 7th technically. So that's one with a lot of movement possible still.
So their RPI right now, and once again, we can debate how important RPI is. RPI.
I have that on the next one. Here you go.
36.
No, not that one.
Their RPI is 36. 37. Okay. I don't know, man. Like, we all know how selection committees work. There's always recency bias involved in it. We kind of talked preseason that getting 5 teams in is ideal, probably 4. As it sits right now, I don't think they're the 4th best team in the conference.
Right.
Which I would have told you they were up until 3 weekends ago. To me, they're going to have to make a really deep run. Now, is there a team in that middle pack that can make a deep run? Yeah, it's probably Coastal. But I think they got to make a really deep run in the conference tournament. And if they do get in, they're probably a 3 or 4 seed. There's no way they host at this point.
No, definitely no hosting. I agree with that.
Do you think a win against Clemson would have guaranteed them in?
I will say yes.
Yeah, it's hard to. You beat Clemson, then you go get swept in your last series, and you lose in the first game of the tournament. Does that one game stand out? I don't know. That once again, I don't get paid to do this stuff, so
one day, Marv, one day.
On it.
Yeah. So, what we know from the past, and Bryce, maybe you can speak on this and what you know or what you have heard too when it deals with RPI, because apparently the NCAA harks on that the biggest. It's the biggest and best metric that they use to select teams for the field. To me, I will say I don't think Coastal was in or will be in at this point if it's me picking. But the problem is it's not me picking, and it's not that I don't want to see 4 or 5 teams from the Sun Belt in. But if I'm being realistic and stacking them up against the field, that's just what I'd see. However, there's projections out there right now that currently have them, obviously before this last week of the season, currently have them in the field of 64. So that tells you right there, they're looking at that 37 number and they're not watching what's happening on the field most recently, right? I mean, this is a team that was probably better towards the beginning portion and middle portion of the season, and they're being, a letdown here towards the end, quite frankly. So I don't know. But there's a lot of middle of the pack SEC teams that don't have 16 wins, and you're sitting there. Let's go back here with the standings. Coastal's got 13. If they sweep their last series, they've got now 16 wins. They'll have 33 wins overall. There's going to be SEC teams that can't say that. So then you talk about the schedule, and that's when you look at the RPI. So again, if they have any kind of respectable finish here at the end, and like Marv says, they go in anything into the tournament, I mean, you're thinking they're in with that RPI number so high.
Once again, that's why somebody else gets paid to do that.
I think
Bryce,
Coastal's had some bias. Everybody's been biased for Coastal all year. I think if it's close, I think they're in. But I do agree with Marv. An early exit from the tournament, no chance. But making it a few days into the tournament, I think Coastal sneaks in.
Yeah. Bryce, what are your thoughts on just RPI overall, and maybe where some of these teams are currently sitting, maybe what you expect out of them after you've, obviously played probably about half of them, at least at this point, for your season?
Obviously, I'm with play, Marshall, we should definitely we should have been in the top. We look at that and you look at the teams we've played. I mean, we go down to App, we win Friday night. We had Saturday's game. We had the lead, if I'm not mistaken, in our Saturday game against App, and they ended up coming back and winning. Southern Miss, Louisiana, the top two teams in our conference as it has right now. Just you all have it up there. Same deal. I mean, we were right there, but the way it is, and you go to RPI and all that. I don't really look into all that. As I go day by day and game by game, you're just trying to take one step at a time, one game at a time. Win the moment and everything. But
who's your number one team in the Sun Belt, Bryce?
Sun Belt.
Who's dominant?
I'd say Louisiana all around. That's a fairly dominant team all around. I mean, they can pitch it. They can play small ball. They can hit the long ball. They have 3 or 4 standout guys that can, they step in the box, and you're especially me pitching. It's like I got to execute these pitches right now, or it's it's not going to be in my favor. It don't matter who you are, but like I said, if I had to say anything, we should have been right up there. But
yeah. And speaking of being right up there, to remind everybody why Bryce is saying that, I pulled up the games. 3-1 loss on Friday, a 1-0 loss on Saturday, and 2-0 on Sunday. That's how close Marshall was to literally reversing the entire sweep on the road against one of the toughest, actually the toughest opponent as far as record is concerned in this conference. So yeah, I mean, that's not just a player speak by Bryce. Like that there's the numbers to prove how close that one was. So for people that look at Marshall's record and think one thing, go compare it to the best team in the league right now. And then that's how, let's go back to the standings here for a minute. That's how close these teams all are. Until just a couple weeks ago, what was it we saw? You could go from 3rd to 10th by losing a game or two in a weekend.
Yeah, a season sweep could have moved you up 7 spots a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Yes. So that's insanity.
Hey, Bryce, I got a question kind of getting away from this. You said you guys played at Louisiana?
Yes, sir.
How was the everyone that's been on here that has been to Louisiana has raved about the Cajun Cooking Club?
Oh, yeah. It's pretty dominant, to say the least. They know how to cook. I'll say that. But
nice.
That's what everyone said. They said they give you hell while you're playing, and then they feed you like a champion at the end.
That's the good thing about, like I said, pitching and getting to play in front of those types of fan bases, And I've said a lot about them, and, I'll speak on ours for a second. You know, I don't want that to get away. You know, ours is something else too. You know, a home game. There's nothing like a home game at our home field this year. You know, getting to pitch every Saturday, or you know, anyone that gets to pitch at our home field. You know, it's something special. You know, you look into the crowd and you see green everywhere. You know, they come out and support you. You know, they come out and support no matter what sport it is here, and that's the good thing I like about Marshall. You know, it isn't just one sport; it's a whole. The entire community is behind you, no matter what. And you know, you're out there, you know, going competing your butt off, and you know, having them behind you, you know, it just gives you a little extra. You know, a little extra. But,
Yeah, that's all. I think there's some parallels between App and Marshall in that respect. That small town, the community is really behind the athletics program. You know, and it makes a difference. Hey, I'm sure they asked you earlier, and if they did, just ignore my question. But how nice is it playing in the new stadium?
It's like I said, it's something else. You know, I told them earlier. I said that you know we played on a YMCA field, as it's known, where you know we didn't. I mean, our bleachers, you know, it was less than probably a lot of high schools. You know, so and it was 15 minutes from our, you know, where our university is located. We got dressed in the dugout. You know, bathroom was a porta potty. You know, so you know we have.
Were you playing at Georgia State or at the YMCA? Sorry.
Yeah.
Continue.
Well, I'd say they have a little bit of comparison there though. But no, it really is something else. You know, it's something to be thankful for and not take for granted. You know, I've already spent 1 year here before this year, and like I said, I went through it. So getting to walk into that new stadium and taking them out and just looking in the crowd, knowing that 98% of the people that are in that crowd are supporting you. You know, you're not going to the YMCA, like I said, and you know, you look in the crowd and they don't even have your own school's color on, you know, but you know, it really is something to be thankful for.
That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get to some Artie comments. He's got Texas State. 1, we win 2 against Southern Miss, which would put us ahead of either GSU or ODU, depending on who loses that series. 2, we win 1 against Southern Miss and GSU gets swept by ODU. Or 3, we win 1 game against Southern Miss and ODU gets swept by Georgia Southern. Or as well, he says GSU, I always forget, you know, how there's a lot of people that call GSU Georgia State, and then there's people that call them Georgia Southern. But off the top of my head, I can't remember who plays which, so Artie will probably update me on that. We'll get to that in a minute. That's why it's not off the top of my head here. But
hey, and
yeah,
have we firmed that up?
Yes,
well, we've been waiting on you, Marv, to confirm which day of the week we're doing, right?
Sunday
or Monday. We'll talk about it after. But yeah, we'll be going Sunday or Monday solely because the tournament starts Tuesday. So you really can't go once that starts. Everyone's going to be watching the games instead of us, which they should.
Where are you guys sitting at in the tournament, Bryce? Does everybody make it?
No. Last 4.
No playing. Okay.
You know,
here's the easy way. When I did the standings, I didn't even do this purposely. It just kind of worked out this way, but it's nice and easy to read because of it. The first 2 columns would all make it, and the bottom 4, the 4 on the side over here would not make it. And at this point, it looks like Georgia State's the only one that's got a chance mathematically because of how it's going to work out there. But as we've seen,
bringing that up then.
well, but as we've seen and we talked about, Marshall isn't far away from, you know, taking down the number 1 team in this conference. We saw Arkansas State have a hot start to start the season off. So, you know, there are multiple things here where, you know, going into next season, some things could change, and we'll just have to see how it all works out. But yeah, Texas State could jump up, as we see. They're only 1 game behind that 3-way tie there. You know, a sweep would get them a little better, but it's still probably middle of the pack at best finish for Texas State as they can look at it right now.
There's still a lot that can happen. I mean, if you look at those standings, you know, we're all App fans here. App gets swept, they're in a playing game.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Did you see they made that a doubleheader Thursday? Tomorrow?
I did not
see that. No,
it's a 2:00 doubleheader tomorrow.
So what they do? Eliminate Saturday?
Yeah, they got rid of Saturday. It's Thursday, Friday.
Interesting.
Very
Okay.
well. I guess it's probably a good thing our midweek against East Tennessee got canceled. Then saved some arms.
Yep, I'd say so. So, and this is how the conference tournament would look if it started today. And again, we're going back to that, the standings here. The three-way tie is to the best of my ability, tie-breaking wise. So the two-way tie is easy, right? You have JMU and Georgia Southern that were tied record-wise, but JMU won the series against Georgia Southern. That's easy. JMU takes that one. When there's a three-way tie, the head-to-head is not the first metric that you use. So going with that, you have the team, you look at the team's record against the best teams in the conference, and you go down the list. You start with the number one and you move down. You get all the way down to, let me see, I did it on paper, old school style here. They were all the way down to, let's see. So they haven't, all three, well, this will be real easy after this weekend because South Alabama ends the year against Louisiana, and then all three teams will have played that. So if there is any remaining tie between these three, it'll be cleared up rather quickly. But right now, Coastal won their series over ODU 2-1. So that puts them above ODU right now, as you can see it. That's easy. ODU won their series over South Alabama. That puts them above South Alabama. So obviously, it just kind of works out pretty easily in that regard, at least to my knowledge, unless I did the three-way tie wrong. But I haven't seen anybody tell me I'm wrong, so I'm going to go with it and stick with it until I see otherwise. And the Texas State and Georgia State one did come down to a common opponent as well, and I think it was Troy. And yep. Georgia State won more games against Troy, or Texas State won more games than Georgia State did against Troy.
That's way too much math that you just did.
Yeah.
By the way.
Well, that's why it's all written down right here. That because I couldn't.
Bryce's introduction. We didn't get done until 9:00 doing that.
No, hold on. I've got more questions. Have you already asked him the question that we asked all the pitchers? Well, there's two questions.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good one. Yeah, so you definitely got to ask that.
I'm going to ask two questions. Number one, hardest guy in the Sun Belt that you've faced the past 2 years to get out, a guy that makes you have command of every pitch and is just going to battle you every time to get out.
Dang. Shoot. I would say Kyle DeBarge. That's his first name, right? Kyle? Yeah.
Yeah.
He'll make you pay really quickly if you mess up to him. I would say him. Dang, there's been a lot of guys that made me pay for my mistakes, over the past 2 years. I gotta give credit when it's due, but he's probably my top one this year. I felt like, especially playing at Louisiana, every time you step in the box, you were either gonna, execute pitches to the T, and it was gonna go in your favor if you did, and if not, if you messed up even the slightest, he was gonna make you pay.
All right, so follow-up question to this. As a pitcher, what pisses you off more, bat flip or slow trot around the bases?
Probably the bat flip. I can, they hit a home run and they want to trot, you got to get, like I said, you give credit when it's due.
You've had 10 this year. Do you trot or do you bat flip? Sorry.
So you're the first pitcher that said that. Every other pitcher said, if it's a big moment, bat flip, it is what it is, but do not take your time running around my bases.
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something about that bat flip because usually, you get the bat flip, you usually get him looking at the ball go in the air and watch it over the fence before he even starts trotting. So I can usually do the trotting part because I'm usually focused on trying to get another ball already and get back on the mound. But, yeah, so that would be mine.
Now, follow-up question to that. If you were to hit a dinger, you going bat flip or you taking your time around the bases and soaking it in?
I'll tell you what, if I ever got an opportunity, I'm doing both because I probably wouldn't get many more. I'm probably not getting many chances, but no, I'm definitely doing a little bat flip. I
like that style. Bat flip for me, as far as like entertainment value for me watching it. I want to see the bat flip, and I want to see the pitcher not happy about it. Like that's what I want to see. I'm a hockey guy where they settle it on the field. I want to see the same thing with baseball. You know, I mean, yeah, you shouldn't beam the guy, but
it's got to be situational. Like you're
Right.
down 10-2 and you hit
Right,
a
right.
solo shot in the bottom of the ninth. It doesn't mean anything. You can't bat flip that. I'm
no,
sorry.
no.
You just got to
Yeah.
get around it.
You know who's not bat flipping right now? Mr. Acuna got benched tonight.
Well, that's great
Yeah.
news. I'm driving to Atlanta tomorrow to watch the Padres series, so I hope he's back
He's
out.
struggling right now.
He is struggling.
Yeah.
Sorry, they got some guys on that team that are playing really well. We got Bryce on me. I'm really hoping to see Yu Darvish pitch this weekend. That's like the main reason why I'm going. I want to see Yu Darvish pitch.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. What is he? Is he a Padre now, or is he?
He is a Padre. I just I don't know, man. I just like the way he works. He's my favorite pitcher.
Okay. So we got to ask Bryce who his favorite pitcher is, and I also want to know who his favorite team is. Obviously, you know, when you're in Kentucky, you've got a few teams that would probably make sense because there's not one obviously right there. But I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, are you a Reds fan or do we have him right now?
I think he's frozen a little bit.
Okay. Well, we'll keep checking in on that. In the meantime,
Go to the bedroom. The signal's better.
I like Marty Cat's comment, then slide into home plate just because.
Just because. Yep. That is great. That would be all. Have you ever seen that? I've never seen that, I don't think.
No.
I was watching the Braves game tonight, and a guy slid back into first, feet first. You know, it's always head first. You never see feet first.
Huh. That's interesting.
I saw feet first the other week. Was that a pro game or was it a college game? No, I think that was a college game that ended. I think it was the Troy game. I think the player that got thrown out at Troy when they lost that game on that last play, so that blooper to the outfield. You guys remember that?
Yeah.
Did you watch that play?
Oh, dude, can't remember that one.
Well, remember Austin and Banks were both telling us that Troy was a little loose with the running of the bases, right? They were a little aggressive.
Yes.
So when he ran back, I think he slid feet first, and he went so fast, feet first, that he kind of like slid over the bag. And I believe the tag came when he came off the bag after he was going so fast. But I thought the same thing Seth just said. I'm like, why wouldn't you slide head first? Because you're going to slow your whole body up by going. You know, when you're sliding feet first, it's just that one leg that's going down. When you've got your whole chest and body dragging, you're going to slow yourself up more. So I have seen it recently, but you're right. It is weird to see it because it's not typically needed. Oh, we got Bryce back. Here we go. All right, Bryce, while you were fixing that, you're good, man. It happens. It's really bad when I lose it because I host this thing. So when I go down, these guys got to figure out what to do. It's never happened, right? But, you know, in case it does. We were talking about, you know, the Braves specifically. But Marv brought up he wanted to see Yu Darvish pitch for the Padres when he goes down there to Atlanta. So on that aspect of things, who's your favorite pro pitcher and who's your favorite pro baseball team, if you have one?
I'd have to say Cincinnati Reds. I grew up as a longtime fan with them. My favorite pitcher, let's see.
It doesn't have to be current. It could be a past one that you grew up with. I like those answers too. So
I'm gonna take Max Scherzer for a couple reasons. You know, I'm a big competitor, so you know he loves to compete. So I feel like that's a common trait that we have. You know, whenever he gets the ball, he's getting back on the rubber and ready to throw the next pitch. I feel like that's another thing about us that's similar. You know, so he's probably right now my favorite. Just the part of how much alike we are and the way we pitch, you know, obviously.
Nice.
Is Scherzer healthy right now?
Zero clue, to be honest with you.
Yeah,
I know he missed the World Series, didn't he? Okay. I think he missed the World Series. I wasn't sure if he was back already.
Artie says the Padres are a study in futility, but I've seen them play the most out of any MLB team and have a soft spot for them. That's interesting. We know Artie from passes, or I guess I now should say was a Phoenix Coyotes fan or Arizona Coyotes fan for hockey. So it's got a little mix of teams that he likes, which is cool. I like that. The randomness of sometimes where you see like people that like teams that are not all in the same city. I kind of like seeing that stuff sometimes. All right. So we covered all that. Just to reiterate, now after Coastal's lack of winning here down the stretch, Southern Miss now has the highest RPI in the conference at 33. Arkansas State sitting down there at the bottom at 197. So there is that. But, most everybody on that left column is pretty high up there. Georgia Southern's at that 75 mark, which is, kind of surprising, I think, for where they're at and kind of who they've played. I didn't expect them to be down there at 75, but maybe some of the losses that they had were to some of the other teams, obviously getting swept this past week, which we'll get into here shortly. But first off, we will start off with ODU versus App State as the Monarchs closed the Bud, as it's called. Did you, Bryce, have you played in that park?
ODUs?
Yes.
Yes, last year I did.
How'd you like pitching in there? Because I heard that that one is often referred to as a launching pad for batters.
It was it was a launching pad. I'll say that, to say the least. It was a launching pad.
Yeah. Not a good mix when last year they had the most home runs, I guess, too, right?
Yeah, they did. They're a good ball team. They they usually every year they always are. Last year, they definitely took advantage of playing at home, as you could say, against us. And but yeah, it definitely is a launching pad there at their place.
Yeah, but it'll be no more, right? You're aware that is that kind of stuff that people in the conference talk about, or?
No, not really. Well, you get there to the field, usually on,
we only care about Marshall's new park.
That's right. That's what I'm saying. But you'll show up to all these places, and our team will take BP. The not before we start our series. You practice, and and you're like, dang, ball's flying, or it's dead here, and look at the wind, the way the wind's blowing. But once I'm out there, and I don't really think about anything like that, but other than throwing strikes and, like I said, trying to get my team in and out. Get us hitting, score some runs.
Hey, wait till you see the new high school baseball stadium that Georgia State's going to build in 10 years.
It is approved. It is finally approved by the state board of whoever gives out money, so we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see. But it does look nice. It looks like it's going to be a fully encompassing stadium with softball and baseball, and it's, I don't know, the setup looks okay to me. The biggest aspect for that is it's going to be even closer to their. It looks like you could throw a baseball to the football field from there, so it'll actually be close. Because I guess the one right now is kind of out of town feeling, kind of quite literally behind a bus lot.
Yeah, well, they used to throw a lot of baseballs in their football stadium.
That's true. They certainly did. That is a good aspect of that. Anything surprise you with this one, fellas? I know that that last one went to 12 after the previous one going to 10. I mean, it was a close series throughout. I mean, 5-2 is not a blowout game either. So,
great pitching in the first two games. Last game, Old Dominion had several chances to put it away late. App battled back. App had a chance to put it away late, and would have loved to have got the sweep there, but that's baseball.
Who was the pitcher of the week this week? I forgot. It was from.
I think he went to App.
Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, he went to App. He threw a hell of a game.
Yeah, he's actually up there in a lot of the pitching categories.
And I believe when we asked Austin and Tolly who the hardest guy to hit off of in the Sun Belt was, I think they named him.
That's true. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Actually, no, they named Stensman, not Jericho.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So, yeah, I mean, obviously for App fans, we wanted the sweep. It would have helped us even more in the standings. However, ODU gets a really cool finish. If you have to be like a 10,000-foot view of not being a fan of either team, you walk it off in your home ballpark on literally the last game there. So that's got to feel cool for the Monarchs. Obviously, they're disappointed they didn't get the series win, but you got to go out on top, and that's got to feel pretty cool for them as they.
I still think that App's hit in the top of the 12th was a home run, and you can't convince me otherwise.
Yeah, and I mean, like,
The camera angle sucked, but
it was terrible. Yeah. I went back and even rewound it more times than they had, and I'm like, I can't even see the ball at all. So that wasn't going to help, and I think that's why, like, I don't think that they didn't review it, right?
yeah, they did. But if they had the same camera angles that we had, there was absolutely nothing that you could say to overturn the call on the field. And I'll give the side guy, you know, he was on the line, he was watching it the whole way. He probably had a better view than anybody, but being the homer, I'll say that he missed the call.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's hard for me to maybe say that he missed it, but yeah, I agree that there hopefully could have or should have or would have been a better review in a different park where they had a better camera angle, but those are the cards we're dealt there. So
is what it is.
Yeah, we move on. App State host Georgia Southern, as Seth had said earlier. We've got 2 coming up on
Tomorrow,
yep. 2 Thursday and 1 Friday. Is that what you said?
2 tomorrow and 1 Friday, and that's it.
Seth, are you going to any of the games?
No, I'm not. Yeah.
He's busy, man. He's got things to do.
Yeah.
I can't be bothered with that $5 parking fee.
I might try to go tomorrow night, actually, but rain's an issue here lately. So,
hey, Seth, think about it. If you go to the doubleheader, it's actually only $2.50 per game.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah, you just got to stay there.
Yeah, just be at the ballpark for 7 hours.
Yeah, it's no big thing. Baseball games last that long all the time. Anyone think that this one's going to be close? 1, because of the rivalry aspect. 2, because Southern just got swept last week, and they honestly can't afford to get swept again. So it's, even if you want to play into the fact that App looks like the hotter team coming in, I don't know. What do you think?
2-1 either way. Flip a coin.
Yeah, we'll go 2-1 App.
I'll take it 2.
Yeah, we gotta get our picks in tonight because heck, they start playing games tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm on the road tomorrow, so we'll get them in tonight.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Man, Bryce is still off, but if he jumps back on, it'll be the perfect time because we're segueing to the series that they had against JMU. Or maybe he's missing this on purpose because they did drop it, but whatever. It happens. They get the victory 11-7, Marshall does on Sunday, but unfortunately for them, they dropped the first 2 games 8-5 and 5-3 to the Dukes, and the Dukes ultimately take the series because of that, 2-1. So really, they knew going into Sunday what was already going to happen there. I mean, this one's not surprising, right, guys?
No,
fortunately not. No. I think we've said all season the way that Marshall pitches, they're going to be in a lot of series. I just don't think, unfortunately for them, that the run support's been there.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, looking back at the scores as Bryce was talking about them, they just have, it's like you said, they just don't have the run support for many of them. Kind of surprising to see it be kind of consistently low, because sometimes you feel like some of these teams are having some breakout games where they have an output for whatever reason. Maybe they think they can start clicking. So pretty obvious where they need the help there at Marshall going into next season, because it looks like you said set on pitching. Not going to get any easier as Marshall does host, but they do host one of the teams that's really going to be fighting and clawing to prove to everyone that they belong in the field of 64 as we get closer to that this weekend. Anybody think Marshall takes 1, 2, possibly even 3 from Coastal Carolina? I mean, Seth, I know you're leaning to that sweep for Marshall, right?
I think 2, possibly at least 1.
Yeah, I think at least
probably
1 too.
Saturday, but
yeah,
Friday, I guess. Thursday, Friday, Saturday series this weekend, correct?
Yeah. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I guess they want to give everybody at least a little bit more time for the teams that are especially playing in that play-in game. on Tuesday, because both games for play-in wise will happen Tuesday. It's not one Tuesday and one Wednesday. So
Yeah, that's tough because, I mean, even if you throw your Friday starter on Thursday, if he's got to go back out there on Tuesday, that's short rest.
yeah, definitely. All right, Bryce is letting me know his phone shut completely off. For some reason, it will not load for me to get back in. So I'm just going to let him know. No problem. We enjoyed the time we did get to spend with him, and if somehow something pops back up, he can jump back in. But we will jump
Tell him
on.
he's got to be on at least half the show to be qualified for the bump.
Yeah.
Hey,
yeah.
he was on for about an hour. He qualifies.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll get the NIL deal from us, relatively soon. The big bucks for jumping on the show with us. Well, we've got Coastal then matching up with Georgia State from this past weekend, and this one was crazy. I mean, Coastal scores 17 runs twice, and yeah, in the last one it was over because of the run rule in that. But the first time they scored 17 runs. Georgia State also scored 13 runs. So that one went all the way through. In fact, that was the game that started on Friday, got postponed in the third or fourth inning where I think each team already had 2 or 3 home runs. So it was just a home run derby. And then they resumed that Saturday where they had a doubleheader where Georgia State took that second game 10-9. So another close one. But I don't know. Coastal gets that 2-1 series win. So definitely helped them before, the cancellation of Clemson's game. What was it? Yeah, I guess just yesterday. Anyone? Bueller?
No.
Listen, I would have picked Coastal to win 2 out of 3. I don't know. A lot of runs, man. I think we've all said that the problems that Coastal's been having recently is their pitching. And man, they gave up 30 runs over the course of a weekend. So bats are hot. That's obvious, but
to not a very good team either.
Yeah, I mean, listen, major leagues, they always talk about, like, in the playoffs, it's all about pitching. I think a lot of that's in college too. It's all about pitching. Same thing with Marshall. Marshall's going to be in series because they're pitching. Is this sustainable? Can you make a run in a conference tournament or a regional if you are giving up that many runs?
Yeah, no, that's a great point. It's a really, really good point, and one that I think they'll have to take to heart when they're looking at that RPI. Maybe they'll look at it more than they should. Georgia State then matches up with the team we just spoke about to start these matchups, ODU, down there in Atlanta at the YMCA bus lot. Any thoughts on this one? Obviously, ODU won that last one against App before going in. Georgia State lost that last one against Coastal. So kind of opposite ends of the spectrum if you feel like momentum's in anything that carries over week to week.
Both teams need a series win really bad.
Yeah, it's true. They do. And I would even argue that Georgia State probably needs it worse because they are currently outside looking in. So I know that ODU could be outside looking. Can they drop that far?
You have to show the standings again. I can't remember off the top of my head.
Yeah. I'll look at it. I'll look at it on this other thing so I can see it better. They have 13 wins. Yeah, they could drop out because Georgia State and Texas State both have 12. So that's not far off at all. So yeah, that is
a big series.
Yeah, it is. That might be one we have to pick because it means so much.
Yeah, if one of the teams wins 2 out of 3, could they find themselves out of a playoff or a play-in?
Let's see if they can jump that high.
Obviously, teams ahead of you have to lose, but there's a lot of stake here.
Yeah. And it's one of the teams ahead of them is Coastal Carolina, so you'd be banking on them losing a couple games to Marshall there. Which again, as we said, Seth even said, I mean, they could steal 2. I wouldn't be shocked by that in the least. So
I also unfortunately wouldn't be shocked if Coastal swept Marshall.
No, I wouldn't either.
No, I wouldn't be shocked by that either. Honestly, I wouldn't even be totally shocked if Marshall swept Coastal. Like I would be a little surprised, right, that it's not 2-1, but 2-1 wouldn't shock me whatsoever.
No,
Sweeping them would be surprising, but not insanity. By the way, so if they won all 3 games, they'd tie Georgia Southern and James Madison, but obviously those 2 teams would have to lose all three for that to kind of continue. So you're really only jumping up to a 7 spot, which still puts you in a play-in game. So in all likelihood, these 2 teams are just playing for seeding within the play-in game or just making the tournament at all, I guess. Already saying it's down to the wire for the last tournament spot.
Yeah, I'm really rooting for Georgia Southern to lose all 3 games.
Yeah, that is speaking of losing all 3 games for Georgia Southern. Boom. You wish and it's granted there, Marv. Go ahead and speak on that one.
I think you summed this up best in the post that you made. First game, I don't think Georgia Southern knew that they were walking into a Raging Cajun home run derby. They just smashed the ball. Second game's obviously close. Last game, not really. I don't know what. Listen, Louisiana's the best team in the conference right now. That's like I don't think anyone's going to argue that. Georgia Southern's a pretty good baseball team, still in my opinion. Where was this in Statesville?
Statesboro, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Statesboro. Sorry. That's the only part that surprises me. You would have thought that they could have got one. They maybe could have got that middle game, but 19-3. How many home runs did Louisiana hit in that game?
Oh man, it was a lot.
5.
I'll look that up as Seth shares his thoughts on this one.
Absolute beatdown. Georgia Southern sliding at the wrong time. Like I said, probably 2 out of 3 this weekend as well for App. So wrong time to be cold for sure.
Yeah, it definitely is. This is taking forever to load up. Oh, there we go. Let's see. How many home runs in that? If you find it first, Marv, you let me know.
I'm looking.
I'm pulling it up now. Let's see. They had 15 hits. I can tell you that. Already a ton of them.
Well, if you get 19 runs on 15 hits, you hit some long balls. Either that or you had a lot of walks.
Yeah. I wish they would just give me the home run total instead of having to add all these up myself.
It's all good. Move on.
Yeah, we don't want to spend too much time on it, but it does look like 1, 2, 3, at least 4 that I see quickly.
Okay.
So at least 4 of them were home runs, which is pretty good. And then we've got the Cajuns matching up against the South Alabama Jaguars. This one down there at Cajun Field or Cajun Country, I guess. I think Cajun Field is what the football field is called, actually. The Teague, right? That's what they refer to their field as. Anyway, hostile environment after South Alabama's weekend. I don't see them jumping up to cause too much trouble here. So I wouldn't be shocked again if Cajuns go in there and sweep the Jags as well. But the Jags, keep in mind, they're fighting for some of the standings here as they're in that 3-way tie currently. So they need all the wins they can get for that one. So, and to note, as you can see, going back, Cajuns were 22 before this weekend's games, getting the sweep. They did jump up 1 spot to number 21 going into this week. The only remaining Sun Belt team is Troy fell out after their midweek loss, and then their 2-1. They won 1 game against Texas State. Texas State won the series there, as we'll get into that right now. So as we see, Troy was number 21 last week. And Artie's got to have something to say about this one, man.
Artie Cat's boys back on track.
Yeah, beating a ranked Troy team. How about that? 6-0 on Friday. Troy takes the second game 5-3, but Texas State steps it back up, and the last one wins 8-6 to take the 2-1 series victory. We'll see if Artie's got anything to say about his boys tuning it up, and then, like he said, really coming down to the wire for that last spot. And when you're beating a team that's currently ranked, when they were doing it last weekend, that's a pretty impressive look, I'd say.
Yeah.
I don't think postseason run unless they win the Sun Belt tournament, of course. But
You don't think
know.
so?
Well,
What are you talking about? Texas State.
Texas State was out of the tournament going into this series,
Yeah.
so winning that was crucial. Who does Texas State have this weekend?
Let's see if that's next. It already says 7th inning pitching collapse cost us the one loss, but very surprised. And I think he means that in a good way. So who does Texas State have? Southern Miss. Yikes.
Ouch.
Not who you want to see coming up against you. Yeah, here already saying it right here.
That's going to be a good series right there too. Troy JMU.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. We need at least 2 wins against Southern Miss, is what Artie's saying. Yep. I'd agree. You need at least 2, but it'd be better if you get 2 and some help to help where you're sitting.
Playing Marcos, or is that down at the Pete?
That one is in Hattiesburg at the Pete. So again, not where you want to be ending your season, obviously. But how scared are they going to be of that? You just beat a ranked team, a team that was sitting at second place coming into this past weekend. And you've knocked them out of contention for the number 1 spot. So yeah, I don't think they're going to be scared necessarily, but obviously Southern Miss fans are pretty pumped up now after that win over Ole Miss. So you've got that to think about. Troy, JMU, unless anybody has anything crazy to say, I expect a slugfest in that one as they both battle for some positioning there near the middle, the top half of the conference.
I'll go 2-1 Troy just because it's they're at home.
Yeah,
I'll go with sweep for Troy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Already saying they got this, so he's got some confidence finally going here towards the end, and obviously he'll talk more about that next week as well, as he will be seen on camera for the first time ever. No, I'm just kidding. At least on this show.
Hey, nothing to see here. Move along. Nothing to see here.
Yeah, I don't think we do need to spend any time there. Southern Miss rolling Arkansas State, worse RPI. Going in. We talked about this matchup already a little bit. But, it could be good. Again, Texas State's got everything to play for right now. Southern Miss could potentially say that they can rest some guys here. You can't – what was it? They can't be number 1.
No.
Right?
Can somebody overtake them for number 2, though? That's the big question.
Yeah, and I think they can, right? Yeah, Troy could definitely jump them for number 2. So they can't really –
at least a win, probably.
And they're only one game up. But I would say App State and Down can't jump them. Although that App State tie, it may be possible mathematically. It's weird how that stuff works out. But I would say for the most part, Southern Miss is going to be at worst 2 or 3 in the conference going into the tournament. So, yeah. We'll see. If it gets down deep into a extra innings, it would be interesting to see if they're just like, all right, just go out there and throw some stuff, but we're not really worried about you making this game any longer. Like, let's get out of here. Because
that 2 seed is important because you get the bye.
Yeah, that's a good point. That is a good point.
I
forgot that there was a bye for the top 2.
You get that extra day of rest, so you can have your weekend rotation completely rested for 3 games.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you'd only see them maybe resting a guy in that very last game on possibly Saturday, depending on weather.
Well, so Saturday, but if you get the bye, so the playing games will be on Tuesday. The first round will be on Wednesday. Then if you have the bye, you don't play till Thursday. So if you're playing a Thursday series starting this week, your quote unquote Friday starter could have a full week's rest before he has to pitch his next game.
Very good.
Ideally, that's what you want.
Yeah. It's a good point. Nothing crazy here. We talked about South Alabama a little bit. They do get the series victory over what is essentially an unimpressive ULM squad right now. So a nice exciting end to that extra inning affair on Sunday, but I don't know, nothing too crazy here. South Alabama gets enough done to stay in that 3-way tie and push it towards there. And you got, let's be honest, probably the most unexciting matchup in the Sun Belt this weekend.
On the year.
Playing host to Arkansas State. So
we are not picking that series.
No, I don't think there's any need to pick that series.
That'd
I
be a
don't
fun
think
one to do, actually.
3-0. Arkansas State ends on a sweep. Let's get it.
Yeah, that would be interesting. There was it can't be any worse than one of the teams from last year who went on a 14-game losing streak to end the season. Doesn't get much worse than that. So
going forward, I know we're coasting right now towards the end of this tonight, but so either Sunday or Monday, that's when this will get exciting after this weekend. We'll preview the tournament. We'll preview, the following week will be regionals, right? So getting through tonight, and then we'll come back Sunday. It'll be a good one. We'll be ready to go.
One final thought here, guys. Before this weekend, we'll do it again after this weekend too, but an exercise real quick. 3, 4, or 5 Sunbelt teams in the tournament when it's all said and done.
3.
4.
I'm going 4 too. I think either somebody surprisingly wins the tournament and gets in that way to get 4, or Coastal does just enough and their RPI is high enough that even if they get bounced without being in the championship game, they've proven just enough in the mind of the NCAA, not necessarily ours, but in the mind of the NCAA, the RPI is high enough to get them in.
Are they a 4 seed or 3?
I think they're barely in. I think they'd be a 4.
Okay.
I think if they get in, they're a 3, not a 4.
Yeah,
Really?
I agree.
Yeah,
I agree.
just the way they do the 4 seeds, it's going to be an automatic qualifier from a smaller conference.
Okay.
But I mean, obviously, listen.
I mean, the way the year's gone, they could be hosting at this point. Hell, James Madison may get in. Who knows?
Let's ask this question: does any Sunbelt team earn the right to host a regional?
Louisiana, I think.
I would think Louisiana. I would think they do.
I would hope that especially if they sweep this weekend, I would hope that would get them there, even with whatever happens in a conference tournament. But yeah, I think they're the only other chance at all to me is Southern Miss. And I don't know if they have the overall record to do so. When you're looking at number ones hosting, they obviously have a great record overall. It's just hosting in those number ones. I don't know. They're really not that far off. If you think Louisiana can host, they're at 38-15. Obviously, if Southern Miss sweeps this last weekend, they'd be at 38 wins as well. Obviously, Louisiana would jump above 38 in all likelihood. But
what's the RPI? I mean, so here's the deal. Cajuns got the leg up because they got the number beside their name right now, right? You would think that you need to be top 16 to host. I would think.
Yeah. So we got Louisiana at 39 RPI, Southern Miss at 33, which is the highest in the conference again.
You're looking at 2 seeds.
I could see it. See it. You're right.
And like you said, was it Seth? Was it you saying JMU could sneak in?
Yeah, it was a complete joke.
Well, I'm not so sure it is a joke. I saw a projection with them in, and they are sitting there with a 47 RPI. 47. Which is actually above Troy's RPI, who sits 3rd place in the conference.
Jesus Christ, you beat Arkansas one time in a 4-game series, and everybody loves you.
We have a common theme on here that we hit every week. That being it, Coastal being overrated.
What if Apple to beat Wake Forest? Would our RPI be 20 spots higher than 64?
It doesn't. There's some other metric that's hitting here because we had a Coastal fan on. God, I'm going blank on his name right at this moment. Yeah, Hayden. He had said, like, even if they had beaten Clemson, it would help their IPI, but it wouldn't jump it crazy. He said you might jump like 2 or 3 spots. So it's got to be something different that is stronger with the RPI. And I'm thinking it's just strength of schedule. But to me, that's why I thought, like,
Coastal's RPI?
Coastal's is
– You say Clemson's or Coastal's?
Coastal's is 37.
37.
Okay.
But Clemson's ranked number
4.
4 in the country.
But
So-
the RPI is 7. Yeah, that would have been a massive win.
Yeah. Even if you don't jump crazy in the RPI, that's one that people think of when they think of you, though. You know, like, oh, hey, they just recently beat the number 4 team. But before we get too much further,
Had App beat Wake Forest. Wake Forest is the number 9 RPI.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Artie wants us to, well, he's going to say it, but we will also agree. Congratulations to the Texas State ladies, the Sun Belt Conference Tournament champions in softball. The Sun Belt will put several teams into regionals, and I believe Louisiana ladies are hosting in the regionals, if I'm not mistaken there. So, yeah, I think that was a battle during the regular season, and then it happened again for the championship, and Texas State got the better of the Cajuns this time around. But obviously, we know the Cajuns are no joke, taking down Oklahoma earlier this year, you know. Hey, guess who it is? It's Neil. If App would have beat Wake and not got swept by Troy and JMU, much higher.
Hold on.
Agreed.
Did App get swept by Troy or did we take one?
I thought we took one from
Oh,
Troy,
we
but
took one too.
we definitely got swept by James Madison because I remember that specifically.
Yep.
Yeah, not a great one there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I mean,
was a terrible series where I think we gave up 3 home runs in the first inning of the first game, and it was just kind of
oh yeah, all
crappy.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is one that comes back to bite you when you're looking at how close you were on some of those. And I'm trying to pull that series up. Troy, two games to 1. Or no, I'm sorry. Yes, we lost one. We lost that series 2-1. That's what it was.
That's what I thought. I thought we only got swept once this year.
Yeah. Gave Wake away. Neil was there at that one, and that's why he knows. But we walked too many players, walked too many batters, and he was telling me all night.
7-2 in the 5th inning.
Yeah. Yep. All right, fellas. I think that about wraps it up, unless you got anything crazy before we get into next week's tournament preview, as we'll have it.
Looking forward to next week. Already coming on. Finally getting to, the beginning of the year was a little bit, we were looking forward to conference, and now, we're kind of coasting through conference into the year, and now it's time to have some fun next week with baseball. I look forward to having the pre-tournament episode next week.
Yeah, really looking forward to that. No additional thoughts, man. I just got to. I'm gonna go pour myself another glass of bourbon and sit here and make these last All-Star selections and piss a bunch of parents off.
Nice. I like your style, Marv.
I'm taking an against the grain pick here, guys. On my last roster spot.
Nice. Against the grain. And speaking of grain, there's bourbon. You did that on purpose?
No, I didn't. But I had. So we have independent evaluators and all the coaches from so we do an A and a B team, and I absolutely hate calling things A and a B team, but we do what we call blue and red. The blue is most of the older kids. So 6 out of the 8 independent evaluators took one kid over the other for the last spot, and I'm going to go against them just straight gut feeling.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah.
I like that. Very nice. It's not your kid, is it?
He actually, I've been playing with it. He was the number 2 kid overall composite stats.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Well, enjoy the rest of your night, and we will see you all again next
Sunday
week.
or Monday.
Yeah,
Yep.
Sunday or Monday.
Let's do it.
Let's do Monday.
All right, we'll talk about it.
I'll be traveling home from Atlanta, and then I have a 2.5-hour practice Sunday, so I will be dead to the world. But if we have to do it on Sunday, we'll make it work.
All right, we'll talk about it here in just a second. See y'all later.
See you guys.